There's a type of person who always sees what others miss. These are people who can catch the tiniest facial expressions, read emotions others try to hide, and notice psychological patterns no one else sees. They can easily see through social masks, spot lies right away, and feel the unspoken tension in any room. Most people call it sharp intuition, a great gift of intelligence. But the truth is, this ability is actually a harsh psychological burden. Because seeing through everything always comes with a heavy price. These people can't just switch off their minds to act naive and keep normal social relationships. Constantly noticing fake behavior pushes them into isolation, doubt, and complete emotional exhaustion. Not because they're unstable, but because they carry the weight of truths that no one else understands. This is an extremely dangerous line to walk. This rare level of awareness will either slowly destroy them or turn them into someone extraordinary. Today we're going to break down the psychology of people who see what others don't and how they can avoid being consumed by their own minds. Welcome back, I'm Apex. Let's get started. To understand why some people can see what others miss, we need to take the spiritual angle off the table. From a neuroscience point of view, this comes from high-speed data processing called thin slicing, combined with the ability to detect incongruence. Imagine the average human brain as an audience watching a play. They look at the stage and believe everything the actors say. But the brain of a highly perceptive person works differently. Their subconscious automatically watches the velvet curtain behind the stage. They notice the broken props, the prompter's hand, the actor's nervous sweat. Their brain is a 24/7 data collection machine, always searching for technical errors in behavior. Human beings communicate through two channels, verbal and nonverbal. Most people only focus on words, but people who see through things have a built-in radar system that is extremely sensitive to the nonverbal channel. They pay attention to what Dr. Paul Ekman calls micro-expressions, tiny facial movements that flash by in just 1/15th to 1/25th of a second, revealing the real emotion a person is trying to hide. When a coworker says, "I'm really happy you got promoted," the perceptive person immediately catches the incongruence. They hear the voice rise half a tone, see that the smile does not reach the corners of the eyes, or catch a quick flicker of jealousy. The brain instantly sends up an alert. Data error. The words and the body do not match. This is a lie. This process happens unconsciously and in a flash. It is like tasting a bowl of soup and knowing it is salty. They do not need to overthink it. The tongue simply reports the truth. But the scariest part is not seeing the lie. It is seeing the reason behind it. When pattern recognition combines with theory of mind, they strip away the mask and see the other person's insecurity and fear. They look at a boss who is yelling and see a child terrified of losing control. They look at someone who keeps bragging and see a pit of insecurity craving validation. That may sound like a huge advantage in communication, but in reality, seeing through people often pushes them into three exhausting psychological traps. Trap 1, becoming the accidental villain. In Greek mythology, there was a prophetess named Cassandra. Apollo gave her a wonderful gift, the ability to see the future and know the truth. But that gift came with a cruel curse. No one would ever believe what she said. Cassandra always saw disaster before it arrived. She screamed warnings, but people only saw her as crazy, negative, and disruptive. People with these see-through eyes in modern life are the Cassandras of social relationships. The truth is, human society is built on polite lies and masks. We need masks to survive, to keep work running smoothly, to keep families peaceful. Everyone silently agrees to take part in a shared performance. And then they show up. The people who refuse to wear sunglasses, the ones carrying a giant spotlight and shining it straight into the dark, moldy corners everyone is trying to keep hidden. Let's look at what happens in a dating situation. They meet someone on a dating app. From the very first coffee date, the other person shows up polished and charming, talking nonstop about billion-dollar projects, luxury trips, and acting like the perfect gentleman or dream partner. A normal guy or girl might be overwhelmed, fall into admiration, and believe they have met fate. But not them. Their radar has already scanned the other person's whole psychological structure within 15 minutes. They realize that overconfidence is actually a form of overcompensation. They notice the constant eye movements checking for reactions, proving that the person is performing, not living naturally. They recognize that rushed enthusiasm as a hidden manipulation script. When they tell their friends this person feels way too fake, their friends look at them like they are paranoid and ruining their own happiness. You're too picky. They seem so nice. Because the crowd only sees the tip of the iceberg, while they see what is underneath. With no proof other than intuition, nobody believes them. They become the bad guy in their own story. Things get even worse in the workplace or inside friend groups. When they have this kind of insight, they accidentally take away other people's chance to play their role. When one coworker keeps complaining and acting like a victim of a cruel boss to win sympathy from the whole office, everyone comforts them. But the person with sharp perception knows the truth. They know this coworker is actually missing deadlines, working irresponsibly, and using tears to manipulate public opinion. They do not comfort them. Sometimes they just let out one simple, realistic comment. Honestly, if you had managed your time better on this project, your boss probably would not have said that. And boom, the whole mood changes instantly. That coworker turns on them with sharp hatred. Why? In psychoanalysis, this is called projection and ego defense. When the true nature a person is trying to hide gets exposed, they go through intense shame and humiliation. To protect a collapsing ego, the brain strikes back. They do not admit the truth. Instead, they turn the perceptive person into the villain. They start saying that person is cold, arrogant, judgmental, and lacking empathy. As we can see, truth is expensive. When these people see through others, they do not earn respect. They create fear. They make other people feel psychologically naked. And by survival instinct, human beings always want to destroy the person who holds their secrets. Little by little, people with this ability learn a cruel rule. Their clarity makes others uncomfortable. So they choose silence. They smile and nod. They pretend not to know. But that silence creates a huge empty space in the soul and pushes them into an even scarier trap. Trap 2. The reading people obsession and overthinking. When they can't trust what others say, they start trusting only their own analysis. This is when observation stops being a helpful tool and turns into a toxic risk control mechanism. Let's call this the detective trap. Because these people are so used to spotting lies behind smiles, they begin to assume that everything has a hidden meaning. Nothing feels as simple as it looks. They lose their innocence in relationships. A compliment from a partner is never just a compliment. It feels like a setup for a future favor. A gift from a lover is not seen as romance. Their brain immediately asks, what is he feeling guilty about? A reply that comes 30 minutes late is not because the other person is busy. It becomes a sign of distance, a loss of priority, the beginning of the end. They trap themselves in a loop of constant high alert. What is the real purpose of this vigilance? To never get hurt. They stay in this loop to protect themselves. They believe that if they can predict every betrayal, they won't feel pain when it happens. Their sensitivity turns into psychological armor. But this armor is too heavy, and it blocks all real emotions. By constantly analyzing and guessing, they fall into a dangerous thinking error called confirmation bias. When they believe someone is hiding something, their brain filters all information to prove that belief is right and ignores anything that says otherwise. They see their partner's tired eyes after a long day and instantly interpret it as, she's getting bored of me. They stop trusting the present because they are busy living inside 10 worst-case scenarios of the future. They win every mental game. They expose every mask. They never get fooled. But the price is, they can never relax. Innocence, unconditional trust, the peace of resting your head on someone's shoulder without overthinking, those become luxuries. They are like someone with extremely sensitive hearing, able to hear the cracks in a building before it collapses. It helps them survive, but it takes away their ability to enjoy music because every sound is analyzed as a threat. And the exhaustion does not just come from overthinking, it also comes from another invisible weight, the burden of unspoken truths. Trap 3. Becoming an emotional dumping ground. There is a very strange kind of loneliness that only people who see everything can understand. It is not the loneliness of being alone. It is the loneliness of standing in a crowd, watching a tragedy unfold, and not being able to say a word. They attend a close friend's wedding. Everyone is cheering and celebrating. But through the groom's glance at the bridesmaid or the bride's forced smile hiding anxiety, they know the marriage is built on sand. They see the collapse at the very moment of celebration, yet they still raise a glass and say, "Wishing you a lifetime of happiness." It feels like knowing the Titanic is about to sink while standing in first class, watching everyone dance. They cannot warn anyone because no one would believe them, and they would ruin the moment. Or they see a kind coworker being taken advantage of again and again by a manipulative, toxic boss. They see the exhaustion in that coworker's eyes, but they also know that if they step in, if they tell the truth, it will be denied. Because to survive, that coworker is using denial, a protective shield they have no right to take away. Holding all these truths slowly drains their life energy. It creates a quiet, chronic heaviness. They feel compassion for people who do not realize they are being deceived, yet at the same time they feel disgust toward the fake masks of the world. Their mind is stuck between deep empathy and bitter skepticism. And the saddest part, because they are so good at reading people, they understand others' needs before a single word is spoken. They know how to act in ways that please everyone, becoming great diplomats. But in return, no one reads them. No one knows what they truly need or where they are hurting. People assume they are too strong, too smart to need protection. The one who heals the world becomes like a glass wall. They see through everyone, but when others look at them, they only see their own reflection. So what is the way out for a mind that cannot stop seeing the truth? They cannot simply switch off their sensitivity. Forcing themselves to think less is like asking someone with perfect 20/20 vision to pretend everything is blurry. It is impossible. The goal is not to see less. The goal is to change how they respond to what they see. In therapeutic psychology, this kind of transformation requires them to build cognitive boundaries and practice the following 3 survival principles. Principle 1, strategic ignorance. This is the art of knowing everything but not reacting to everything. Clearly separate truth from responsibility. They see a coworker obviously sucking up to the boss in a fake way. That's the truth. But the real question is it their job to expose that person? No. Does it affect their KPIs? No. Then treat it like a cloud passing across the sky. They can see it's gray, but they don't need to fly up and push it away. Leave behind the ego that wants to play the Lord of Truth. Their ability to see through things is a tool for gathering information, helping them make safer decisions for themselves. For example, not working with that fake person, not a weapon to judge or clean up the world. Principle 2, accept social masks. The suffering of perceptive people often comes from having standards that are too high when it comes to authenticity. They expect everyone to be real, to be transparent, but look again with more empathy through a psychological lens. Why do people wear masks? It's not always to deceive or harm. Most people wear masks to hide wounds, insecurity, and the fear of not being loved. That loud, bragging guy at the table is really just a boy craving attention. The friend who always seems cold and arrogant is actually shaking inside, afraid of being betrayed again. Sometimes a lie is the only thing keeping them from falling apart. Once they understand this, anger or disgust toward fake behavior starts to fade. In its place comes radical acceptance. They see the mask, but they don't rip it off. They simply smile and allow the other person to feel safe inside it. The greatest form of understanding is not exposing someone's weakness, but seeing it clearly and still choosing to treat them with kindness. Principle 3, forgive the blind spots of the present. To escape the detective trap, they must accept one risk. Stop trying to control the future. When their radar signals that a partner might be lying, they can acknowledge it, store it in the back of their mind, but not let it ruin the present moment. If their intuition says there's a 20% chance the relationship could end badly, they should have the courage to accept the 20% and still enjoy the 80% of joy right now. Living fully requires the courage to sometimes get hurt. They can see the thorns on a rose, but if they keep analyzing how sharp each thorn is, they will never smell the flower. Allow themselves at times to be intentionally blind, so the mind can rest and the heart can beat like a normal person's. When they learn to let go like this, something almost magical happens. Their ability to observe doesn't disappear. It evolves into something greater, true wisdom. They are no longer a cold X-ray machine exposing every flaw. They become a quiet lighthouse. They see all the hidden rocks and dangerous currents, but instead of panicking, they calmly guide their ship through. This level of perception is a brutal gift, but also the most beautiful one, if they learn how to master it. If you see yourself in this video, if you've always noticed what others miss, remember this: you are not alone. So among the 3 psychological traps we just explored, which one do you fall into the most? And more importantly, are you ready to commit to practicing these 3 principles to protect your mind? Share in the comments. I'd really like to hear your story. If today's video brought you value, hit like and share it with someone who might also be struggling with an overly sensitive mind. Your understanding today could completely change someone's day. Thank you for staying with me until the end. I'm Apex. Don't forget to subscribe to keep exploring the hidden sides of psychology. Goodbye, and I'll see you next time.